What's good, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering this sick 3D gun effect. We essentially get the gun to float into the scene while being 3D tracked, and then making it spin around really smoothly, and then by end of it adding a shape to make it look like it's shooting into the next scene. So no more talk, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so first you need to have two different clips. For example, with me, this is the one I'm transitioning into, just a quick car scene. But the first scene that we're going to be adding the gun to is this one here. Now, I'm looking for empty space. So, for example, I could do it here, or I could do it here. But to me, it's looking best if I decided to put it here, okay? So, now let's get into 3D tracking the scene. You're going to add a 3D camera tracker to your layer, let it analyze, and then we'll get into it. Okay guys, so mine is finished, and as you can see, it's done a pretty good track. I'm not going to track it to the actual artist himself because that doesn't provide anything constant. What I'm looking for is surfaces, the car, the wall. For me, the wall is perfect. So I'm going to go straight to the wall over here and just select an area and press create solid in camera. Trust me, you'll see why I've done solid in a few minutes. So just put in that here, you can see it's kind of appeared. So all I'm going to do is click on that layer, rotate it around, and then size it up with S, okay? So guys, I'm just letting that play through now, and as you can see, it's tracked pretty well. I don't see any issues with that track at all. So now let's get into the next part, which is downloading the gun. Okay guys, so here is the pistol we're going to be using. Now, I'm going to link this at the top of the description. Basically, what we need is an OBJ file, and luckily this one has an OBJ. Remember, if you're using a free file, it's not going to be the best possible one you can get. So if you want to spend a bit of money and get a better model, by all means. But I'm just teaching you like how to do the base of this, so you would just use this, same as me. So this pistol here, you're going to go down to download 3D model and get the OBJ file. So press download, unzip the file, and you'll have two folders, a source and a texture. We're going to be using both, so keep them to hand. Right, so now once you're back in After Effects, we're going to be using that now. So I'm going to cut down the solid to the new layer and just keep it hidden, okay? Now I'm going to add in a new solid, just like this. Black, whatever color, doesn't matter. And I want you to add element 3D to it, okay? Once you've added element 3D, there's one thing I want to do first. Go down to custom layers, custom texture maps, then go on to layer 1 and put that to your clip. So my clip is nested sequence 02. So I'm going to put it to nested sequence 02. So now I've done that, I'm going to go into scene setup. Once I'm in scene setup, I'm going to go into import. And remember how I said the source and texture folders from earlier, from the unzip folder? You need the source. Get the OBJ file from the source folder and import it here. Click it and just press OK. Now you'll have a little gun like this. Press normalize size. Yes, it's not textured now, but that's what we need the other folder for. When it comes to element 3D textures, I decided to chat GPT and make a table for you guys just to make things a bit easier. Keep this open and pause the video now and map the textures. If you don't know how to map the textures, let me explain it now. So we're back in element 3D. You need to go into the drop down menu and click this little one here. This is our material for the gun, okay? So if we go down here, the whole table I've just told you is here. So your diffuse will be your base color. Your glossiness will be the roughness, but you invert it. Reflectivity can either be the specular or the metallic. Just experiment with both, see if you get much of a difference. I didn't get much of a difference, so let me just go to specular, because why not? Illumination we don't have. Normal bump is obviously normal. Occlusion will be the mixed AO file. And environment we don't have because we're going to be setting our own custom environment. Now let's get to that. Go up to the environment tab at the top. Drop down menu and select your custom layer 1, which is your original clip. You can see some slight reflections on there, but you can see, actually, yeah, you can see the green on there. That's the environment reflecting. If I enable it, you can see it appear all around. So experiment with the lighting. Let me choose cinema. Obviously it doesn't look great right now, so I'll probably just leave it on single light. That's fine by me. So now we're done with mapping the textures. It's now time to do the animation, the glow, and everything else. Now you can already see, you can see the gun, but it's just floating about frantically. It's not being tracked properly, and that's because of the Z value. This is why I said keep a track solid, because then you know exactly how much of a Z value you need. If you go into position by pressing P on the track solid we originally did, which was this one over here, you'll see you have three values, the X, the Y, and the Z. We're going to be needing the Z. Back on the element 3D layer, go to group 1, particle replicator, and you have these two here. Okay, you can move it around with X and Y, and then you can use the Z value to put it properly tracked. So guys, as you can see, I've put the Z value to about, let's say 30 to 40k, because if you notice, if you go too far back, it disappears behind the whole thing. That's not what we want. We want it to be around, let's say 40k, because that way it's in between the furthest away tracking point, which is 113,000 with this track solid over here, and at the front, which is 0. Go for a little bit more of a halfway mark, but then move it forward so it's actually in the shot. So 40k works fine for me. It'll probably work for you as well, but just move it around based on what you need. So now that I've got the properly tracked gun, as you can see, it's moving around like it's been tracked properly. I've moved it to the side I want it on as well, so you can use yours and move it by using the position XY. So let me move it a bit more just to show you guys. Just by dragging it like this. It's really that simple, guys. So just like that, boom, we have the gun ready. Now, I still feel it's a bit small because I want it to be a lot bigger. So I'm just going to go back into scene setup and put the size up to, let's say, 2,300 abouts, okay? Perfect. Now I'm going to add in a deep glow over the top. This makes it a lot more clearer and just so I can see what I'm doing and gives it a really cool effect. Okay, so now that we've done that, it's time to start animating. Now you can add motion blur to the element 3D layer and you can hide the track layer because we no longer need it. And if you were wondering, putting the camera layer and the element layer in whichever order, it doesn't matter because either way it's still linking the two together, okay? So now, we can see just by adding motion blur, it already looks pretty sick. But now it's time to add a bit of animation to it. So the first thing I'm going to add is rotation by going back onto the element interface we've got over here, going down into rotation, and then you can see we've got 3 different options to go with. So, I'm going to go on Y rotation, let's say start it about here, and then by the end of it, I want it to have done a full spin, okay? So, just over here, then I want it pointing at the camera, just about like that. I also wanted to give it a bit of a turn, so at 0 it was fine. So going back to the start, maybe I'd want it to turn this way a bit. There we go. So you can see now it's having a nice little spin to it. So it's still pretty slow, so I'm just going to F9 all of our keyframes for the rotation, drag the right side, swim to the left, just like this. So I'm just going to highlight the right side and bring it to the left, just so you've got a curve that's a bit smoother like this. And as you can see, we've got a nice smooth rotation of the gun before the animation happens. And just like that, I'm happy with the rotation aspect. Now it's the time for it to float in. So you're going to keyframe your position XY, and that's the one we want. So I'm going to bring this over to about, let's say, the middle or just a bit after. Then I'm going to bring it down and out the frame just by dragging it like this. Then I'm going to F9 both of these two just like this. Back in the graph editor. This time I want a bit of a sharper curve, just like this, okay? Now let's see how that's turned out. Pretty cool, but the animation of the rotation is still a bit fast for me. So I'm just going to highlight both of these, back in the graph editor, and make it a bit of a smoother curve. And there we go. That's the rotation and that done. So now it's time for the camera animation and the explosion / shake into the next clip. So first thing you're going to do is, because we don't want 2 cameras interacting with each other because it just doesn't work. So I'm going to highlight all of our layers, including the track solid, because why not? Right click it, pre-compose, move all attributes into a new composition, okay? And adjust it to the time span because you want it to be already pre-cut, okay? So now that's done, we've basically got a nice little cool gun animation, but I want it to have a bit of a camera animation to zoom in near the end to make the gun the focus of this clip. So I'm just going to enable motion blur because it just makes things 10 times better. And I'm going to enable 3D on this new composition. Then I'm going to right click, new, camera, just as we did before. And then I'm going to cut this down to the length of the clip, okay? Now you're going to go into the drop down menu of the camera, then go into transform, point of interest and position need to be keyframed. Once that's done, bring it to wherever you'd like the animation to start. Then you need to use your dolly tool and then bring it wherever you'd like it to go. If it's not moving, then your layer is more than likely not 3D, so make sure this is ticked here. Move it to wherever you want it to be. If you just feel it's a bit awkward to use, you can also use the pan tool just to move it about, but don't move it about with the normal cursor because that isn't affecting the camera. So use these 2 tools here and get to work. So back in our comp now, you can see we've got the animation done, just like this, but the camera animation is way too slow for me, so I'm going to do the same thing. F9 it, go into the graph editor and make it a sharper curve. Also going to bring these in a bit so it's more like a, you know, with the camera, how you do the quick zoom kind of thing with the lenses. That's how I want it to look. So just like that. We now have a sick 3D gun animation. Now it's time to add in the hit. But before we do that, let me give you guys a bit of a cheat code into the lighting of the gun. So if we go back into our composition and back onto the element 3D layer, you're going to basically collapse all of this because there's a lot to look at. Then go into render settings, physical environment, and then from here you can go down into rotate environment, and you can pretty much choose and rotate the environment around just so you can see what part of the environment would look best with your clip, if that makes sense. So if I go to the end bit, which is what's going to be zoomed in on, I can adjust the environment to have a bit of a better look. So I like the edges having a bit of a green look to it, so I'm going to just basically move these around until I get something I like. I'm more than happy enough with the lighting of this. See, that looks pretty cool there. So I'm more than happy enough with the new lighting we've done. Now I'm going to show you guys one more trick. So now you can collapse physical environment and go into lighting. Now you can press add lighting, which you could also do in the scene setup. It doesn't really matter when you do it, but I'm going to add it from here and simply just choose one which I feel looks pretty cool with the clip. So after cycling through all of them, I found that natural looked the best for my clip. Yours will definitely be different to mine because all clips are not the same. So just choose whichever lighting option you want. If worst comes to worst, you can just use the same basic because you don't have to use it. It's just a little upgrade. So now going back into our clip, you can immediately see the difference. I'm even going to go back onto our camera animation and zoom in a bit more just because I like how it looks now. So I've shown you guys the two little tricks that I use to help with the lighting. Now let's get on to the shake. So I've given it a very greenish look when I filmed it, as you can see. So I'm going to stay within them guidelines and use a green shake. So essentially what I've done is I've gone Ctrl-Alt-Y to add a new adjustment layer, bring it above the camera layer, and I've added in a green shadow hit, basically. So I added in my new shake, and as you can see, it gives it a nice little green little hit. If you wanted to be a bit more creative with it, you could add in a green screen muzzle flash to the end of your gun, and then you could also add in maybe an explosion or maybe glass break into the next scene. But I just wanted to show you guys a quick version of how you can do it. So if you want the same kind of shadow hit as me, Trap Essentials pack. But we've come to the end of another video, guys. Hope you lot have enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you learned something. Make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more After Effects tutorials. I've got so much loading for you guys. I'm going to be uploading a lot more often. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Love.